Whiskey, vodka, Jaeger, 151. I basically have my own bar downstairs.
You're an alcoholic.
Hello, friend. Welcome back to ReddX, your source for the freshest daily cringe content anywhere on the internet. Promise. Swearsies, it's just a fact. And it's totally science. Go ahead and look it up if you want. We've got a one-off tale today about when you drink too much whiskey and your junk don't work or something like that. This OP's been whipping up tons of stories in my personal subreddit, r/ReddXReads, so I think it would behoove me to check out the writing style and see if we mesh. You guys can also let me know what you think in the comments, of course. Let's not delay any longer. We'll get right into some of this whiskey cringe. Whiskey Wang Bang, posted by user Cringy Val. Pleased to meet ya. I woke up with a burning need to share some cringe. So I'm posting an excerpt from a Neckbeard saga that I'm in the process of writing. This is a short story about my first time with a guy who would eventually become my psycho neckbeard boyfriend, but I didn't know that he was a neckbeard yet. Did he hide it well, or was it just denial? I guess we'll see. Whiskey Wang Bang! Cast is Whiskey, a neckbeard, still wearing the mask, although you will see it slip several times in this story. He's extremely tall and lanky, no fingerless gloves, no fedora, no BO. In fact, he's wearing women's perfume, which is kinda strange, but not a complete deal breaker. Spiky black hair. His face sports a bushy black hobo chic beard. Imagine a skinny version of Hagrid with an even bushier beard wearing a designer knockoff suit. The beard thing does weird me out a little bit, but yeah, I don't think I would pick up any red flags off a guy like that. I say, wow, he looks pretty put together aside from the post-ironic stupid beard. OP, you're slightly uncomfortable narrator of this X-rated cringe. Oh, we might have to do some heavy edits, huh? I'm Val, and this story is from the point of view of my overly tolerant younger self. My physical appearance doesn't really matter for this story. Just know that I'm the sucker who fell for a neckbeard's mask. In my defense, the mask was quite firmly in place when I initially met him. And based on what you said, I'm gonna back you up on that. Like I said, I wouldn't have suspected. Since I'm not posting the entire saga just yet, allow me to catch you up on the pertinent plot points. Whiskers had been on the receiving end of Trisha Paytas's Neckbeard doppelganger's obsession for several months, while he often gave in to her whiny pleas for some whiskey whiskers sexy time. Because, like, she did generally annoy the hell out of him. Whiskey whiskers sexy time? No, dude. Please stop. Also, Trisha Paytas is horrible. Elijah, we throw up a picture of Trisha Paytas. This is the most successful Neckbeard in the world. Eventually, he manipulated her into dumping him, which, yeah, that should have been a red flag in itself. But she really was annoying AF, and she refused to accept it when he told her that he couldn't see her anymore, so he resorted to manipulation and finally pissed her off enough to free himself from the clutches of her lumpy legs. It's fair, slight red flag because he's a manipulator, but that also wouldn't be enough to send me screaming into the night. You just make a note of it, and then you move on. He and I became friends during this time, and I hadn't even really thought about dating him because I didn't want to face the jealous wrath of the Trisha Paytas Neckbeard. Plus, his beard, like, really grossed me out at first. It is gross. Why the f would you do that to yourself? Are you that embarrassed of your own actual face? You need to cover it with hair? It was only after numerous conversations and revelations of meaningful shared interests that I started to consider dating Whiskers. Yeah, I know that nickname is awful, but that was what people called him at the time. I do have a far more insulting name for him in his own Neckbeard saga. Wait, so is Whiskers Whiskey? I think that's safe to assume. So we had hung out one-on-one a few times at this point, and I really was starting to catch feelings. He was interesting to talk to, he had good manners, and when I looked beyond the beard, there was something kinda sexy about him. Well, you know what ZZ Top says about that.
Every girl crazy about a shameless man.
The chapter begins after my first proper date with Whiskey. Things had gotten pretty flirtatious, and we had shared some difficult kisses. I say difficult because Whiskey's beard was so massive that you couldn't even really see his mouth underneath it. Ew, dude, just like an untrimmed, horrible, nasty, ungroomed beard nest, bird nest, whatever, hanging off your face. Like, if you're gonna have a beard, at least try to keep it nice. How does he eat? I bet that beard's all full of crumb. Nasty! Then there was also the problem of wiry facial hair getting into my nose and mouth. And there was definitely a risk of some beard rash on my face, but he still seemed cool at this point. I was confident that with some patience, I could find a way to work around the beard and properly make out with him. Yeah, and every time you make out with him, you get like this Cheeto crumb bonus falling into your mouth. I think I'm good, dude. I don't like this. Maybe it does work for some people, but if it doesn't work for you, then don't pretend it does and just be like, we'll deal with it later on down the road. But I don't know. I guess there was a lesson that you needed to learn here or something. OP continues, also, I was keen to hear about his recent trip to Japan, even if things didn't get physical. There was no recent trip to Japan, but I didn't know that at the time. So I went home with him. So he just lied? I'm gonna tell you about some stuff that I imagine about Japan. Okay. And so now we've arrived at the threshold of Whiskey's house. Whiskey unlocked the door, took my hand, and led me straight up the stairs without even bothering to turn on the lights. I hesitated. OP, whoa, pump the brakes, dude. Do you mind if we sit down and chat for a bit? Whiskey sighed. I wasn't trying to rush you. I'm just a little embarrassed by the mess in the kitchen. We can sit on opposite sides of the room if you want. No pressure, I swear. Well, he's got a game plan for sure.
Well played, sir.
It's a bold strategy, admitting that the kitchen is a mess early on. Let's see if it pays off for him. It was nearly pitch black in this townhouse, but now I was morbidly curious to see that kitchen. Don't do it. Had I walked into an episode of Hoarders? Was he just embarrassed by his normal bachelor pad mess? Or was something more sinister rotting nearby? I didn't smell anything rancid, so I decided that it was probably nothing worse than some pizza boxes and empty beer bottles. That's right, rationalize all that away. It's fine. I took his hand on the way up the stairs. If there was an embarrassing mess in one part of the house, I didn't want to risk tripping over a bit of detritus on the staircase. Alas, the staircase appeared to be clear, and Whiskey flipped the light switch to his bedroom. I noticed there was an alarming number of liquor bottles strewn around the room, but it definitely wasn't an episode of Hoarders. I also noticed that there was a comfy-looking chair near, but not too near to the bed, so I took a seat. I think my first thought would be like, oh great, he's one of these douchebags that collects liquor bottles. That was cool when you were 16, dude, we're over it. I'm really coming at everybody today. I'm sorry, beard-faced people and liquor bottle collecting people. The person I'm truly targeting here is Whiskeybeard, but I just sometimes firebombs, you know? Whiskey towered over me, scooped me up, and flopped into the comfy chair with me in his lap. Yeah, that wasn't the agreement, friend. He then mashed his bristly beard onto my face again, and one of his hands snaked straight up my skirt and found its way into my underoos. Oh, hell to the nah. I told you, dude, he has his game plan laid out. He knows exactly what this is. Not his first rodeo by far. I smacked the arm attached to the offending hand. Dude, what the actual f***? Whiskey seemed dazed. Uh-huh. Really? OP. Really? I literally just told you to pump the brakes. Whiskey. You mean you wanna actually keep talking? You're not like other girls, Val. This is interesting. Oh my god. It's the oldest line in the book. You fell for it, OP. I feel terrible. That's all these young girls want. They want to not be like the other girls. It's the secret button. Works 60% of the time, every time. OP escaping from Whiskeybeard's lap and taking a seat on the floor in the doorway in case I needed to make a run for it. Yeah, I'd like to talk to you, but you're freaking me out right now. And don't try to flatter me with that not like other girls crap. I can't possibly be the only girl in the world who doesn't make a habit of sleeping with guys on the first date. Oh, look at OP. She knows the game. I'm liking this. I mean, a surprising number of girls do kind of want to go home on the first date. And then when they figure out I'm not into it, they get slightly offended by it. But it's like, you taking me home night one. I'm not the first person you've done this with, right? I think I'm good, dude. The expectation is probably better than the reality. I'm going home. At this point, Whiskey whispers dejectedly,
So, you're not physically attracted to me?
OP, I felt something earlier. I did, but I need to give this connection some breathing room before we get naked. Why don't you tell me more about Japan? Whiskey even more dejectedly.
You weren't even wet.
Jesus Christ. How about a little finesse next time? How about you warm it up a little bit? You don't just cram your digits in there and go, what's wrong with you? Why isn't it working? What a moron. This was a facepalm moment, if there ever was one. But Whiskey seemed almost childlike in his ignorance of respectful romantic interaction and female physiology as a whole. This was a far cry from the suave passion that Mary had so vociferously touted. And Mary is from another of Val's stories, Married Mary. We will probably get into that soon enough because I do like this writing style. It's well constructed. This is working out great. So OP decides to speak gently. Well, it sometimes takes a little while for that to happen. Plus, not every woman gets lubricated when she's aroused. I almost always have to use lube. Whiskey.
I bet if I were prettier, you'd be dripping.
Ugh. Ugh. All of the words that you said were wrong. Stop making words. OP, look, it has nothing to do with that. And for the record, I do find you attractive. I even put some lube in my purse, just in case. Whiskey.
I thought you didn't bang on first dates.
OP. I said I don't make a habit of it, but I prepared for the possibility. Whiskey.
So you just assumed that you'd need lube?
OP. Yeah, I've had sex before. I've had an entire relationship before. Past is prelude. Trust me when I say that I need the extra, slippage. Honestly, probably a smart way to go. Always be prepared. Whiskey says,
You've never been with me. I could get you wet.
Yeah, talk is cheap. Obviously not. At a certain point, sometimes you've just got to accept that a woman knows her body better than you do. And even then, it's so weird to take it as like a personal affront.
Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't cultivate a snail trail.
Well, that's just how it be for some people. Same with women. They're like, oh my God, he didn't get hard. He doesn't like me. It's like, no, dude, maybe he's nervous. Maybe he's got other stuff on his mind. We're not all a bunch of robots that can press a couple buttons and be like, initiate cum sequence alpha.
You wouldn't like my body. It's all circuity and metallic.
Oh, good.
Hey, stop! I narrowed my eyes at Whiskey, saying, look, don't be that guy. Oh, he's definitely that guy. Like, yeah, I'm sure he wants you to get off or whatever, but only so he can feel better about himself. It's got nothing to do with you. At this point, I would be screaming, running into the night. Like, he just gave an old sneaky finger after he just said that he wouldn't, you know? OP continues, you're an intellectual, right? So I'm sure that you can understand that this has nothing to do with you or my feelings about you. I just know my own body, which is essentially all the things that I said. Whiskey seemed to calm his tits a bit.
So, you actually enjoy my company? And your dry chonch isn't because you think I'm ugly?
Oh, your insecurity is just billowing, filling up this whole room with your lack of self-worth. It's not a good look. I shook my head. I was laughing, cringing, and feeling very, very sorry for Whiskey in that moment. Don't do that. He thrives off of pity bangs. OP says, I've enjoyed your company in the past, Whiskey, but right now, you're just being weird as hell. And can we please not talk about my dry vag? If things get heated tonight, just trust me to take care of that, okay? Whiskey just nodded.
I'm not sure what to do now,
he admitted.
Most of the girls who come home with me just want to get eaten out.
With your big nasty beard?
Can you eat like that?
How many weeks of juice are just decaying away in that? Don't tell me! Don't tell me! I should have said it out loud. I can't bear to think about it. And you kissed it, OP! You kissed it!
Nasty!
You're killing me inside, you know that. At this point, OP says, I fully cringed. Yeah, me too, man. Listen, I like that, but I don't like the phrasing that you just used. You're not a male escort, though. You're a cool person that I think I could enjoy spending more time with. And sure, sex would be a welcome addition to this friendship, but can we please just let it happen naturally? I notice you use the word friendship, but this ain't the friend zone. This is the friends with Benny zone. Beep, beep, beep. I guess one is preferable to the other, depending on what you're looking for. Whiskey says,
okay, I hear ya. I'll grab some drinks. What can I get you? Whiskey, vodka, Jaeger, 151. I basically have my own bar downstairs.
You're an alcoholic.
OP, water? Whiskey?
Of course, hang tight.
Having your own bar in the house sounds like really cool, but I don't drink anywhere near enough to make that feasible. Whiskey, he's probably cycling out the stock every couple of months. Whiskey ran downstairs and grabbed an entire bottle of whiskey for himself and brought me a clean, unopened bottle of water. I'm really glad that you checked if it was opened or not, OP. I wouldn't have thought about it, but big brain play. We decided to watch a few episodes of Game of Thrones. This was back when Game of Thrones was good. And we eventually gravitated closer to one another, which eventually led to touching. And it essentially turned into HBO and chill. I'm not very good at writing non-cringy sexual tension, but I'm sure you get the idea. All the while, I failed to notice that Whiskey had imbibed almost half of that bottle. What a disaster of a human being. Are you sure you want to get involved in any way? That's like a really good excuse for me to leave. Then again, he might get drunk and angry and violent and you're there all alone with him. Only way to get out of this one is jumping out the bathroom window. Things are about to get real cringy, and this cringe is rated M for mature, so that was your warning to dip if you're at all squeamish. And I'd like to say I'm not, but we've already been gotten once at least in this episode, so deep breath. just try to prepare for what comes. Everything was relatively normal at first, save the conundrum of working around his massive beard. I might even go so far as to say that things were pretty hot at first. But then Whiskey went downstairs on me, and his beard was coarse. It was wiry, and it was massive. It's like a straw-filled cushion for your bum-bum. Remember how awkward it was for me to kiss him? Well, it was equally awkward for him to try and kiss me. There! I'm rocking a Sphinx, so this wasn't a hair meets hair situation. It was a hair meets bear situation. Yeah, look at you, OP, left with no protection. It's terrible. That's rug burn. I don't even think Whiskey made an attempt to employ other mouth parts. He just sort of motorboated my crotch with his beard. Oh,
You motorboating son of a bitch, you old sailor, you.
To be honest, it kind of hurt. I'd later find out that most of the girls he'd been with in the past seemed to love getting motorboated in the clunge by a tumbleweed. No, they don't. They're imaginary. This is just like the trip to Japan. They never existed. He never thought he'd get this far. You agreed to go up through the room and he froze up. He's like, I don't know what to do next. All of this according to him, at least. Yeah, which it's a lie, straight up. There was nothing to be done about my discomfort with the tumbleweed. I couldn't give constructive criticism and go tell him to shave the beard that he's clearly spent years cultivating. So I snatched up the lube from my purse, told him I was ready to rock, took care of the problem on my part, handed him a rubber, and granted him access. Granted him access. Yeah, I suppose that's accurate. I just love that description. It's so clinical, so scientific, trace amounts of science. But here's where I have to put on my therapist hat and explain the widely misrepresented phenomena of a whiskey willy. But I'm not going to explain it on YouTube because I kind of got struck for talking about stuff like this before. So if you want the uncensored version, it's going over on Patreon. But in the interest of safety and welfare of my channel and, you know, not getting a strike and not being able to post for a week, we'll just do a tasteful fade to black here. It's gonna be fine. And we're back into the regular story. If you want to see the stuff that I cut out, please do go to Patreon.
Roll over and puke a bit. Jam it back in. Pound, pound, pound. Try for one more pound. Fail. Pass out. You the man. Yeah, dude. High five. Another notch on the bedpost. Another woman disappointed completely. Wow. Again, I have no idea how we made it this far. And so yeah, that was the extent of my life with Whiskey. For the entire duration of our relationship, no less. He rarely ever finished over the entire year and a half or so that we were dating. He hated being sober while doing it, you see. Despite his bravado in social situations, he was incredibly self-conscious about his height, his lack of muscle tone, the size of his dong, his scent, his hair, basically everything except his beard, the one aspect of his physical presentation that actually was gross. It's fascinating how people get this inverted view of themselves. So Whiskey relied on liquid courage before he got his freak on, but he also fell prey to the fallacy that being able to last a long time made him a magnificent lover. Yeah, how long are we gonna play pretend for? 15 minutes max, that's all I got in me, alright? In truth, this gets uncomfortable after a while, but I permitted him his pride and said very little about our completely lousy, intimate life. I said even less about his morning delights with his fleshlight. He thought I didn't know, but I knew. I mean, that's probably the reason he can't get it done. He's poisoning himself. He's spilling his seed! And for what reason? I guess to continue disappointing his girlfriend. The least I could say is at least he showers every morning in his own juices. Returning to the events of that evening, Whiskey's dong was still halfway in, but my very tall, very bearded new lover had passed out cold and was now snoring sweet nothings into my ear. He was a skinny dude, but he still weighed a lot more than I did, so slithering out from under him was not an easy feat. And to make matters worse, his half-hearted hard-on slipped out of the rubber, which was stuck inside of me. Jesus, this whole thing is a mess, you know?
I could forgive you for a bad first date, but to go on a first date like this and be like, now I'm gonna get into a relationship with him.
What the hell?
Okay, so OP runs to the bathroom to remove this errant prophylactic, but I stopped in my tracks when I saw the strangely alluring clutter. There were containers of expensive skincare products all over the countertop. Bottles upon bottles of hair serum, hairspray, women's perfume, and scented body lotion accompanied the skincare products, and there were at least a dozen pink ladies' razors in the sink. I felt like I was in the bathroom of a sorority house. Well, at least he tried to prep something for your arrival, I guess. Maybe he just always has a sink full of used razors, I don't know. Part of me was confused by this ultra-feminine loo, and the other part of me wanted to go nuts and try out every single product on the countertop. But first, I had to yank that rubber out of my cooch. Yes, priorities. Get any remnant of this person away from me forever. I did manage it, and I was relieved to see that Whiskey definitely hadn't, conjugated the verb, as there was nothing in the reservoir tip. Thank God. I tossed the rubber into the bin, took a leak, washed my hands with some of this fancy Joe Malone peony and blush suede hand soap, slathered a bit of Jacquard buttercream body lotion on myself, and headed back into the bedroom. Is he still passed out? Probably it's time to bail. Into the bedroom and out the front door. Whiskey was there snoring like a freight train. I didn't think I'd be able to sleep next to the racket, and I hadn't brought my earplugs with me, but I feared that Whiskey would be a little bit butthurt if I ghosted him. Ultimately, I decided to text him, thanking him for the evening and telling him that I hoped that we could hang out again. Why you gotta lie to the boy, you know? Why you gotta break his feelings like that? You're out of the danger zone. Tell him he's a weirdo. Tell him you never want to see him again. What I really meant was, let's have a do-over and pretend that this night never happened. His phone buzzed, but he didn't wake up, so I got dressed and ghosted the drunkard. Why do we even need a second chance, really? When someone shows you who they are, just believe them. Could have saved you 18 months of pain and heartache. But hindsight's 20/20, I guess. The next morning, Whiskey sent me a sausage selfie, to which I replied, "Is this all I am to you now, Whiskey?"
No, I was just trying to say that I wanted to see you again.
OP, then why not say,
I'd like to see you again.
Whiskey?
Do you think I'm small?
Yes. OP says, no, you just kinda hurt me. I never really know how to respond to pictures like that. Whiskey?
Most girls love them. You're quite the interesting one, Pixie.
Yeah, I don't think most girls have been completely honest with him. I love how he keeps trying that line. You're not like other girls. You're the most interesting one of them all. But I don't know, dude. Seems to get results. Coming back for more of this trash fire just depresses me. Whiskey asks,
so did I blow my shot?
OP? Not necessarily. Let's go out again, and maybe don't worry so much about the, intimate stuff this time, Whiskey.
Was it not good for you?
OP? Was it good for you? You weren't even awake, Whiskey.
Oh, I was hoping you didn't notice.
What? How the hell could someone fail to notice a 7-foot drunk man passed out on top of them? OP says, it was kinda hard to miss. You snore, Whiskey.
Most girls don't notice. You continue to impress me.
Yeah, you can tell if I'm unconscious or not. That's really fucking impressive. Oh my god. This is some deep cringe, dude. I hate this. Who are these most girls? Are they imaginary? Are they paid to be there? You been watching the anime, son? Is that what you're telling me? I don't know how to reconcile this. Okay, so we all know by now that Mary was a certified whack job. We don't know that actually because we haven't read that saga.
But I'm gonna take your word for it.
But really, who were all these other girls that seemed perfectly okay with a whiskey willy and mid-copulation somnolence and sausage selfies as a legitimate form of communication? They don't exist, and if they do exist, their self-esteem leaves much to be desired. Whiskey himself seemed like a really sweet guy when he wasn't wasted, but I was beginning to question the female company that he'd kept in the past.
You're a phony! Hey, this guy's a great big phony!
I nevertheless proposed that we go out again that Friday. Ugh. He couldn't. Shadowrun. Sunday? Still Shadowrun. There was a show at the Imp on Thursday, but I didn't want to put Whiskey and Mary in the same room, so I left the second date up to him and went about my merry little life. Yeah, let that one drop for sure. You're trying too hard to try too hard, you know? Almost 2 weeks passed before he texted me, asking if I wanted to go to an art exhibition with him on a Wednesday night. I did! That sounded like a terrific date. But Whiskey was once again drunk out of his mind by the time we got back to his house. I offered to drive because I had accurately predicted this outcome. I dropped him off and went back home without bothering to go inside. Yeah, we've seen that before. That's where he hits you with the sneaky fingers. Definitely don't fall for that one twice. All of this, of course, was truly a shame because we had had a lot of fun at the exhibition before he was 7 or 8 drinks deep. Radio silence from him ensued for the next week or so, and I found myself back in bed with Dennis. Oh my god, you really slept with the Golden God?
I am the Golden God of this place! I reign supreme!
Part of me wants to say, you know, hookup culture L and all that stuff, but really it's your life, you gotta figure it out how you wanna. Flip-flopping back and forth in just a week's time, I don't know. OP might have some work that she needs to do on herself, but at least she's nowhere near as far gone as Whiskey is. I guess he does have delusions of grandeur, sense of entitlement. That's generally my only criteria. But more than both of these things, I just see like rampant alcoholism, which is really sad because it's run in my family. It's why I don't drink very much, because I'm terrified of it all turning out like that. So I don't know, more than it being like, oh, I can't believe he had drinks on our date. It's like maybe he should be in a program of some sort. But you can't force him to do it. He's not ready to get help yet, clearly. He's got a ways further to fall. I just hope that he doesn't hit the ground too hard. I hope he can turn it around. Even as disgusting and weird as he is, we got to keep a little pearl of hope in our hearts. Ain't that right? Anyways, let's get back to the lab and I'll bid you adieu. Thank you, friends, for watching. Do you need some more terrible dates? Our Dating Hell playlist is on the end card. It really does help me out when you click stuff like that, so please do. Always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, bye-bye. Go ahead and cut them open. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine.